The Trump administration had faced a deadline of midnight tonight to return a man to the United States who was deported to El Salvador. But today, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts temporarily put a stay on that order. This after the Trump Justice Department filed an emergency motion to the High Court. The DOJ argued that a federal judge overstepped her authority. Here's what happened. A United States District Court judge from Maryland ordered the U.S. to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He had been deported by the United States, but the judge said there were no constitutional grounds to deport him. The Trump administration objected to the judge's ruling and say Abrego Garcia is no longer in U.S. custody and that the government has no way to get him back. The government admitted there was an administrative error in his deportation, but claims Abrego Garcia has ties to MS-13. Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School and author of the book, The Palestinianism, it's coming out April 15. Professor Alan Dershowitz joins me. Good evening, sir. And can I start with this, is that he was not legally in this country to begin with, is that right?
If he wasn't in this country illegally to begin with, the government's entitled to deport him immediately. As soon as they prove that, he has no right to remain in the country if he didn't come in legally. But the government has some burden to demonstrate that he's the right person. They don't have to prove he was a member of a gang. All they have to prove is that he's in the country unlawfully. Look, this decision is one justice, the Chief Justice, an administrative decision, simply giving the court more time to look it over. But it's part of a bigger process. Trump will win on the merits, on the substantive power to deport people who shouldn't be in the United States. But he's going to have to do it without violating due process. Now, the judge went way overboard, threatening contempt or ordering some government official to do something they may not have the power to do, and to do it within a time period that was unrealistic. But all the judge has the power to do is to say, you have to make best efforts to try to persuade the Salvadorian government to return him to the United States, where he will then probably be deported the next day.
What do you have to do to prove that? I mean, the government have to prove like this, see that someone appears to be here illegally. I mean, what does the government have to do before he could deport him?
Well, just give him a chance. He has the burden.
What does that mean? Does that mean Does that mean a full hearing, or does that mean show me your birth certificate, your passport, or something? What does it mean?
It doesn't mean a full hearing. It means you have to give the person an opportunity to prove that he's in the country lawfully, that he can produce his visa or his green card. If a person is in the country and can't produce his visa or green card or citizenship papers, the government has the right to immediately deport him. They don't have to show anything else. If, on the other hand, he has a visa and he procured it by fraud, the way Khalil may very well have done at Columbia University and some other people, if they did tell the government that they had no intention of engaging in. So
in this instance, he had a right to be here. I think he had a work permit of some sort, a green card or something. So the only grounds that they could have to do this would be to show that he's tied to a gang, right? Would that be and under the Alien Enemies Act?
No. They can show that he obtained.
No?
They can show that he obtained his documentation fraudulently.
What if he got it legally? What if he got it legally and joined a gang here?
Well, then they'd have to prove he joined the gang. And I think, he usually, to get a permit, you have to sign some kind of a statement denying terrorist activities or proximity to terrorist causes. So if they can prove that he's a member of the gang, they have an informant.
But that's sort of, I mean, he came here. He came here, as I understand, in 2011, and I don't know anything about this guy than what I read. I mean, it's like maybe he should be here legally. I don't know, but he came here in 2011. Hypothetically, if he joined a gang in 2020, but he's here legally legally, what happens then? He's here legally, got a green card. 2020, he decides he's going to join a gang, and a bad one.
Well, if the gang is a terrorist organization, a designated terrorist organization, then he is a felon for giving material support to that organization, and he can be deported. But there'd have to be some degree of due process. Again, president wins on the substantive power, but is losing, at least in some cases, on due process. And that's the American way. Give the president the power, but make sure he exercises the power in a way that's consistent with due process.
And that's why I think you're, I mean, I agree with you, and I always know you're right, but I actually agree with you, is that the Court of Appeals from which this case came, it was 3-0 against the president, and he filed the motion to the Supreme Court, and Chief Justice just put a pause on it while they decide it, right?
Yeah, and then it'll go to the whole court. And if you can get, interestingly enough, you need only 4 votes to get certiorari, but you need 5 votes to get a stay. So he's going to need 5 votes to overturn, even temporarily, the decision of the Court of Appeals. So we'll have to see. And that's done usually on papers without oral argument, and it's done pretty quickly.
And of course, the question we didn't reach, but we will next time, is the fact, so what do you do? How do you get them back? Because the U.S. doesn't have jurisdiction over having turned them over to some other country. But we'll save that for another day.
We have economic power. We have other ways. So I think it will be a hard sell to say that we tried very hard to get him back, but we couldn't get him back. I think if we want to get him back, we'll be able to get him back.
Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you, sir. People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.